Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Joseph II of Austria. So, a bit of background information for him. Before his reign, right, there was what's known as the Pragmatic Sanction of Austria. Basically, his grandfather had died without a male heir, and this left his mother, Maria Theresa, to become the Empress of Austria Hungary. Now, this caused significant problems for Austria Hungary because nobles within the country began to take advantage of Maria Theresa, and other nations around Austria Hungary, tried to take advantage as well. One of these nations just happened to be Prussia. So the Prussian ambition was to take Silesia. That was their main goal. So they declared what would later be known as the Prussian conquest of Silesia, I believe, and they took Silesia from Austria Hungary. However, war is not the only troubling things about Austria Hungary during the late 1700s. The Enlightenment had just come out, and Austria Hungary wasn't really a part of it before now, and the scientific revolution was going on. So there was room for great reform. So now we get to the Royal Ascension, right? His true reign began when his mother died in 1780. Before then, he was somewhat of a co-ruler with his mother, but after this is where he really took the throne for himself. As I said before, the Austrian Empire was not an enlightened region, right? It certainly wasn't backwards, but it needed significant reforms. One of these reforms were going to have to be dealing with the serfs and some of the other autonomous regions, such as the Hungarians, who had held significant power amongst the empire. Then there were a couple of issues with the Holy Roman Empire, which had been declining for a while ever since the 30 Years' War. And lastly, the Catholic Church itself held significant power over the crown. So, all of these kind of left Austria in the need to reform. Thus brings us into the Austrian High Enlightenment. So Joseph II established a significant number of reforms in an attempt to modernize Austria-Hungary. Right? He was trying to make it a more enlightened region. Some of these reforms included the Edict of Tolerance in 1781. This basically decreased the Catholic Church's grip on Austria due to having the empire be more tolerant. The Catholic Church was less powerful. He also limited censorship of the press. This also decreased the Catholic Church's control on education. One of the big things before now was the Catholic Church trying to suppress some forms of information, such as much earlier being Copernicus's theory of a heliocentric solar system. But either way, limiting censorship of the press moved Austria towards a more secular state. And he also modernized the farms, right? This decreased the power of the aristocracy as well as increased the privileges of the peasant farmer. This was an attempt to gain more tax money from the peasantry at the expense of the aristocracy, but it did help the peasants and the serfs who were destitute